Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In the turbulent era of the Three Kingdoms, when the world was in chaos, brotherly loyalty was valued more highly than life itself. But when it truly came to a moment of life and death, how many people could truly achieve a perfect balance between righteousness and survival? During a frantic and desperate retreat, Zhang Fei was solely focused on fleeing for his life. In his panic, he accidentally left behind Liu Bei's wife in enemy territory. Amid the flames of war and thick smoke of battle, Liu Bei stood among the scattered troops, his expression calm and stern. He didn't fly into a rage, nor did he scold Zhang Fei. He simply uttered two cold sentences. These two sentences carried no overt emotion, yet they struck everyone present like a piercing winter wind. It was through these words that people saw Liu Bei's dual nature, not only his famed benevolence and righteousness but also his iron will and decisiveness. Some said his heart was as hard as stone. Others believed that was what made him a true man of greatness. Those two sentences became one of the most memorable and ruthless lines Liu Bei ever spoke, reverberating through history for 1,000 years. And were even regarded by many figures of the martial world as guiding principles. A form of wisdom for navigating life and death decisions. So, what exactly did Liu Bei say? And why did these two sentences cause such a stir in that chaotic era? According to Romance of the Three Kingdoms, at the end of the Eastern Han dynasty, the empire was in turmoil. Warlords carved up the land, civilians were displaced, and people lived in constant suffering. In such turbulent times, three like-minded men came together because of a shared ideal. They were Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei. Liu Bei stood for benevolence and righteousness. Guan Yu was brave and resolute, and Zhang Fei was fiery and straightforward. Though different in temperament, they bonded at first sight and became as close as real brothers. They shared a common belief, to restore the Han dynasty and bring peace back to the people. Thus, they became sworn brothers, taking an oath in the Peach Garden to live and die together, never betraying one another. From that moment on, they embarked on a journey of fighting side by side, supporting each other through the bloodshed and storms of war. Their bond was so deep, so unbreakable, they once joked, "Even if we only have one pair of trousers left, we'll take turns wearing them." Later, as Liu Bei's forces and influence gradually expanded, his leadership qualities also began to shine. Liu Bei had lofty ambitions, keen foresight, and carried himself with calmness and poise, exhibiting the aura of a true sovereign. Under his leadership, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei also rose to prominence and were entrusted with important responsibilities. Zhang Fei, in particular, was appointed as a general of separate command, a position of considerable rank at the time, showing how much Liu Bei trusted him. But the critical moment that allowed Liu Bei to establish a firm foothold was when Xu province was handed over to him. Xu province was a strategic location in central China, a place fiercely contested by all military powers. At the time, the governor of Xu province, Tao Qian, had long heard of Liu Bei's virtuous reputation. On his deathbed, he didn't hand the province over to powerful aristocrats, but entrusted the entire territory to Liu Bei. This was not only a testament to Liu Bei's character, but also a rare opportunity granted by fate. However, opportunities come with challenges. Liu Bei knew well that whether he could hold on to Xu province would determine his ability to survive and thrive in this chaotic world. Sure enough, it wasn't long before Yuan Shu launched an invasion, attempting to seize Xu province while it was still vulnerable. In this moment of crisis, Liu Bei decided to personally lead his army into battle. Before setting out, Liu Bei entrusted the defense of Xuzhou to Zhang Fei, and also left his wife and children in his care. So, what kind of person was Zhang Fei? The moment his name is mentioned, people immediately picture a fierce warrior with glaring eyes and a thunderous voice. Indeed, Zhang Fei was exactly that kind of straightforward, bold, and valiant man. But no one is perfect. His biggest flaw was his addiction to alcohol. Once he started drinking, he would often act on impulse, doing things that were either laughably absurd or downright disastrous. And this time, he repeated his old mistake. Even with the enemy approaching and the situation critical, he was still in the city throwing a banquet and drinking. Qiao Bao, a relative of Liu Bei, refused to join him. And in a fit of rage, Zhang Fei beat him severely on the spot. At first glance, this seemed like a simple outburst of temper. But in reality, it sowed the seeds of a huge disaster. Because Qiao Bao was related to Liu Bei, and Liu Bei was known for his cruelty and ambition, he had already set his eyes on Xuzhou. Zhang Fei's reckless act gave Liu Bei the perfect excuse to send troops. Sure enough, Liu Bei soon seized the opportunity, launching a ferocious assault on the city. The sudden attack caught Zhang Fei completely off guard. Still drunk and disoriented, he was in no state to organize a defense. Seeing that the city could no longer be held, he had no choice but to flee in panic with his remaining troops. He mounted his horse and dashed out of the city gates, riding as fast as he could, thinking only of saving his own life. But at that critical moment, he made the biggest mistake of his life. He forgot to bring Liu Bei's wife and children. This wasn't just a simple oversight, it was a serious betrayal of the trust his brother had placed in him. Amidst the chaos of war, he only cared about his own escape, leaving Liu Bei's family behind, deep in enemy territory. When Zhang Fei finally arrived at Liu Bei's camp, flustered and panicked, he dropped to his knees with a thud, tearfully confessing his mistake. It was only then that Liu Bei learned what had happened. One can imagine the storm of emotions Liu Bei must have felt in that moment: bitterness, grief, and rage all mixed together. He hadn't only lost Xuzhou, which he had worked so hard to secure. What pained him even more was that his beloved wife and children were now missing, their fate unknown. An ordinary person might have exploded in fury and drawn his sword on the spot. But Liu Bei didn't. He simply looked at the kneeling Zhang Fei, silent for a long time, and finally let out a deep sigh. Just when everyone thought Liu Bei would sever ties with Zhang Fei, he said something that shocked everyone. Brothers are like limbs, wives are like clothing. At first glance, this remark might seem heartless, even offensive. But if you truly reflect on it, you'll sense the profound meaning behind it. Liu Bei didn't say this to belittle his wife and children. On the contrary, it was because he cared so deeply that he chose to express his pain and helplessness in such a way. Think about it: if he had lashed out at Zhang Fei or struck him in anger, then the brotherhood they had forged through countless battles and hardships might have ended right there. And that was a consequence Liu Bei could not afford. His cause had only just begun, and his foundation was still fragile. If he let emotion sever his bond with Zhang Fei, it would be like cutting off his own right-hand man. So Liu Bei chose the most rational and wise path: forgiveness and tolerance. According to some historians, Liu Bei's act of forgiveness was not a sign of weakness or retreat. Nor was it an indulgence of wrongdoing, but rather a demonstration of far-sighted wisdom and a strong sense of the bigger picture. With his broad-mindedness, Liu Bei not only calmed Zhang Fei's heart, but also stabilized the morale of the entire army. From that moment on, Zhang Fei was filled with deep remorse and became even more loyal to Liu Bei, never straying from his side again. One could say that at that moment, Zhang Fei was not merely asking for forgiveness after a failed escape. It was also a spiritual awakening. And Liu Bei's forgiveness became a powerful symbol of what made him a great leader. Liu Bei's words, "Brothers are like limbs, wives are like clothing," though simple, revealed his vision and wisdom. That sentence not only saved a valuable general, but also preserved the unity of his forces. By upholding the principles of benevolence and righteousness, Liu Bei touched the hearts of his comrades and earned their absolute loyalty. This magnanimity and his skill in using people wisely laid a solid foundation for his future achievements. As Sima Qian wrote in records of the grand historian, Shiji, in terms of strategic planning, I am no match for Zhang Liang. But they are all extraordinary men. What I can do is employ them well, and that is how I won the empire. Liu Bei may not have been the most brilliant strategist, nor the fiercest warrior. But he knew how to recognize talent, trust people, and put them to good use. That was the fundamental reason why he ultimately rose to become the ruler of Shu Han. In contrast, although Zhang Fei once made a grave mistake, he never betrayed Liu Bei's trust again. He spent the rest of his life fighting through countless life-and-death battles, proving what true loyalty and brotherhood really mean. This also proves an important truth. Kind-hearted forgiveness can not only move people, but also awaken the deepest conscience and strength within them. The phrase, brothers are like limbs, women like clothing, may sound cold or indifferent. But in times of chaos, it expresses the profound emotional weight of true camaraderie. It reminds us that genuine brotherhood is something that can endure misunderstandings, shoulder responsibilities, and last until the very end. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.